Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Ij'al li wazira min ahli Haruna akhi. Ushdud bihi azri wa shriku fi amri. Kay nusabbihaka kaseera wa nazkuraka kaseera. Innaka kunta bina basira. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Welcome, dear friends. Inshallah, we will continue from the 25th word about the miracle of the Quran, as the author is presenting about the rhetoric that we see in the Quran. We are kind of discussing how we can benefit from the language and the style and the rhetoric, which also uncovers many different perspectives and meanings and gives us different kind of feelings in terms of how we engage with the Quran. Right? So the language matters in terms of how one kind of perceives it. So we kind of last time I took some notes in terms of how we discussed the rhetoric, where Arabic poetry also uses it, but it talks about a single point related to worldly matters only, whereas the Quran has employed rhetoric that has many aspects to it. So I only get what I'm looking for in terms of my essential needs. Right? So worldly matters are not really essential needs, but Quran addresses, and from the rhetoric we can branch out and get into the essential needs that human beings have. Right? So it should address my mind, my heart, and spirit with all the different things that they need to be satisfied. Right? So my mind needs something different, heart needs something different. For example, my mind is satisfied with knowing that I have a creator, but my feelings or my how about my loving the creator cannot be through the mind. Right? So it needs the spirit. And we discussed about the previous scholars worked on the needs of their time, and the needs of this century have changed and they need to be addressed as well. For example, a rough example we used was going to a hardware store, Home Depot, for a hammer would have sufficed someone previously, but nowadays they would go and look for a drill machine, for example. So nevertheless, there are many other messages that can be derived by studying the rhetoric of the Quran. So we will continue in terms of how this rhetoric plays out and how the author kind of pinpoints certain things. So it would be very lengthy to explain the sources of the all-wise Quran's eloquence in its verses and words and sentences. So each letter, word has been purposefully been used, and they all comprise of many meanings, many different can be derived from them within the context of the Quran, which is important. Therefore, we shall keep the explanation brief and show by way of example the fluency and eloquence of the wording in one sentence, obtained through the position of the letters and a single flash of miraculousness that shines forth from that positioning. So it flows very fluently based on how the letters are positioned in terms of the wordings used as well. So, for example, the translation is that after the distress, he sent down on you a feeling of peace and drowsiness, which overcame a group of you, which is verse from section thir third Al Imran, verse one, or yeah, and verse 154 to the end of the verse. So then after the distress, he sent down on you a feeling of peace and drowsiness, which overcame a group of you. So let me pull this out as well. So it's a long verse basically, and I think he focuses on something. After sorrow is translated, I don't know what the al-gham. Al is usually distress, or he caused calm to descend upon you. ثم أنزل عليكم من بعد الغم أمانة نعاسا يغشى طائفة منكم. So this word, so there's the author is saying there's fluency in terms of, sorry about this, fluency and eloquence in this, in terms of how the words and letters are positioned to the end of this verse. So let's see the points he makes. In this verse, all the letters of the alphabet are present. So in this verse, all the letters of the alphabet are present. But see, although all the categories of emphatic letters are together, it has not spoiled the smoothness of style. Indeed, it has added a brilliance and harmonious, congruent, eloquent melody issuing from varied strings. Also, note carefully the following flash of eloquence of the letters of the alphabet Alif and Ya. So paying attention to the Alif and the Ya in that verse. All right. Since they are the lightest and have been transposed with one another like sisters, they have each been repeated 21 times. And since Mim and Noon, Tanween is also a Noon, oh, are sisters and have changed places. They have each been mentioned 33 times. And since Sheen, Seen, and Thawd are sisters in regard to articulation, quality, and sound, each has been mentioned 3 times. And although Ain and Ain are sisters, since Ain is lighter, it is mentioned 6 times. Why? Because Ain is harsher, it is mentioned half as many 3 times. And since Zay, Dal, Za, and Ta are sisters in regard to articulation, quality, and sound, each is mentioned twice. While Lam and Alif in the form of La have united, and Alif's share in the form of La is half that of Lam. Lam is mentioned 42 times, and as a half of it, Alif 21 times. Since Hamza and Ha are sisters in regard to articulation, Hamza pronounced and unpronounced is mentioned 13 times, and being a degree lighter, Ha is mentioned 14 times. And Kaf, Fa, and Kaf are sisters. Since Kaf has an additional point, it is mentioned 10 times, Fa 9 times, Kaf 9 times, Ba 9 times, and Ta 12 times. Since Ta comes third, it is mentioned 12 times. Ra is Lam's sister, but according to their numerical value. So each letter like has a numerical value. Ra is 200 and Lam 30. So since it has risen 6 times more, it has fallen 6. And since Ra is repeated on pronunciation, it becomes emphatic. Okay, so Ra is repeated on pronunciation, so that's why it becomes emphatic and is only mentioned 6 times. And because dots, sa, ha, and kha are emphatic and gain additional qualities in connection with other letters, they have each been mentioned only once. Since waw is lighter than ha and hamza and heavier than ya and alif, it is mentioned 17 times, 4 times more than heavy hamza and 4 times less than light alif. So we can look at the verse again in Arabic, as the author has been sharing. He studied all these letters individually, and that's what he's sharing, kind of how they're fitting and purposefully placed into the verse that we can read and recite accordingly. So it flows properly, and then through that word placement, we derive the meanings on those. Sorry. So thus the extraordinary positioning of the letters in the passage mentioned here and their hidden relationships and the beautiful order and fine subtle regularity and harmony shows as clearly as twice 2 equals 4 that it would not be within the limits of human thought to have composed it. As for chance and coincidence, chance and coincidence, it is impossible that it should have interfered. And so, just as the strange and wonderful order and regularity in the position of these letters leads to a fluency and eloquence in the words, so may there be many other hidden instances of wisdom. Since such an order has been followed in the letters, surely in the words, sentences, and meanings, such as have a mysterious order, such a luminous harmony, has been observed that should the eye see it, if one sees it, realizes it, it would declare mashallah, and should the reason comprehend it, it would exclaim barakallah. So this is just if one studies deeply into the letters and words, their placement, that one can get the meanings behind them. So also, I mean, if one has to really know many of the details about the rhetoric to make the claims that, this cannot be something that a human being can do, right? I mean, chance and what is the other word? Chance and coincidence is impossible anyway, right? If you have scramble and you just throw the letters, or they don't form any proper sentence by them, so it's impossible. But even just for some human thought to have come to this, it's just rhetoric tells, by studying deeply the rhetoric, it would say that. Okay, so I will move on if anybody wants to mention anything in terms of these positioning of letters and the fluency and eloquence that comes out of those letters. And that's why many people can memorize all these verses, because of the ease and fluency and eloquence in them. I mean, try to memorize a biology book or something. I'm just saying that would be very, I mean, there's no fluency in those things or eloquence. All right, let's continue. Fifth point. This is the excellence in its manner of exposition. That is to say, the superiority, conciseness, and grandeur. So the manner of the way it speaks, who is speaking, superiority, conciseness, and grandeur, the qualities are displayed. Just as there is eloquence in the word order, the wording and the meaning, and a uniqueness in its style. So in its manner of exposition, is there a superiority and excellence? Manner of exposition, superiority, and excellence. Indeed, all the categories and levels of speech and address, like encouragement and deterring. So either the verses would be encouraging, or they would say, don't do that, this will harm you, this will hurt you, deterring, praise and censure, demonstration and guidance, explanation and silencing in argument, are at the highest degree in the Qur'an's exposition. So many arguments, silencing an argument. Produce any verse like this, for example, or any, show me anything that can create anything in this world. Demonstration and guidance. So look at the examine the universe, study it, see who can give life to dead beings. Right. So challenges and argument and demonstration by paying attention to the things in the universe. Of the innumerable examples of its manner of exposition, the style here has slipped into the close of the surah's meaning. So this was a footnote, basically. Innumerable examples of its manner of exposition, the style here has slipped into the close of the surah's meaning in the category of encouragement and urging. Is that in surah has there not been over man a long period of time when he was nothing, not even mentioned, which is a verse in the Quran, section 76, verse 1. This is as sweet as the water of Kausar and flows with the fluency of the spring of Salsabil. It is as fine as the raiment of the Huris. So even so, the surah's meaning also gets related to the style in which it's conveyed. The whole verse is conveyed. Right. So the style here has slipped into the clothes of the surah's meaning. So it fits perfectly well. Everything has purposefully, carefully been chosen in that way that it fits perfectly. Just like the creation of the universe, everything fits perfectly well. That's why what we are studying through the sciences and discovering the order in the universe where everything just fits amazingly well. The whole solar system, the way the ecosystem works, everything just functions in a perfect way. Of the numerous examples of the category of deterring and threatening is the start of Surah. Has the story reached you of the overwhelming event, which is the verse from section 88, verse 1? Has the story reached you of the overwhelming event? Here, the Quran's exposition has an effect like lead boiling in the ears of the people of misguidance, and fire burning in their brains, and Zakum scalding their palates, and hell assaulting their faces, and like a bitter, thorny tree in their stomachs. An official like hell, charged by someone with inflicting torment and torture, in order to demonstrate his threats, and is splitting apart with seething rage, and is saying, nearly bursting with fury, or nigh bursting, but nearly bursting with fury, which is from the Quran, section 67, verse 8, certainly shows how awesomely dreadful that person's threats are. So these two verses basically are used as an example of how encouragement, deterring, praise, censure, demonstration and guidance, explanation, silencing, and argument. And yep, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Actually, this text must be studied with the original Arabic letters or the sentences and words so that we can understand. For example, although I'll come to the examples given here, the Quran chooses, there are, I mean, I don't know, to say thousands is, I don't know, but really 100 specialists, experts studying this style of the Quran, rhetoric of the Quran, going along the language arrangement of the Quran. They all agree on it. Language arrangement of the Quran smoothly uh, goes along with the meaning, the message it carries. No, so there are Arabic language has words. I don't know how many million. Unbelievable, rich. In one similar meanings, we know the synonyms. In one meaning, there are how many words, and all of them has different flavor. Quran uses among these many words according to the context that the Quran uses and carry the meaning. For example, everybody is familiar with this example. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. أنعمت عليهم. Look at the sound. أنعمت عليهم. Whereas when it comes to the negative side, غير المغضوب. Look at أنعمت مغضوب. Now the sound change. ضالين مغضوب. Here, for example, overwhelming event. It's something horrible, isn't it? Look at the language used. غاشية. غاشية. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية. So it is, here it is, غاشية. Read it. You cannot use a sweet sounding word in order to carry the meaning overwhelming, horrible, غاشية, مغضوب. So another word is used here, and then well nigh bursting with fury. You can bring it up this 25, 67, 8. Let's read it. Fury. Mm-hmm. No, no, no. 67, 8. Okay. Am I wrong? 29, 29. 67, 8. Is it wrong? Is it this one? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Read it.
غيظ
Tekadu temeyyezu
من
mine
الغيظ.
ghayz. Ghayz. The meaning is furious. And it sounds furious. Ghayz. The words, the letters have been chosen as if you don't know the meaning, you can guess something is horrible here. غيظ, مغضوب.
So like heavy letters that come.
Yeah, that is,
Okay.
the scholars have spent their life to see this relationship in an amazing way, amazing way. So some scholars even argue that this word, the meaning is possible, let's say, there is another word. Reading in another word makes the sound lighter, but the meaning the word carries is heavier. They say, now you cannot read this verse with sounds lighter because it goes against the meaning, contradicts the meaning the word is meant to carry. So this must be the correct way of. Incredible amount of work has been done on it, on this side of the Quran. And we understand that it is not, it is impossible to be really written by a human being to take everything, even the word, the pronunciation of the word must accompany or include the meaning that the sentence tries to convey. Miracles, the Quran's miraculousness is everywhere.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Okay, so let's continue. Of the thousands of examples in the category of praise, the category of praise, the Quran's manner of exposition in the five surahs, starting Alhamdulillah, is brilliant like the sun. In these phrases is an allusion to the matters discussed in the surahs. Adorned like the stars, majestic like the heavens and the earth, lovable like the angels, compassionate like tenderness towards young in this world, and beautiful like paradise in the hereafter. Of the thousands of examples in the category of censure, disapproval, right, and restraint in the verse, would any among you like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? Which is a verse from section 49, verse 12. It censures 6 times. It restrains from backbiting forcibly. That's one, backbiting 6 times over. It is like this, as is known, the Hamza at the beginning. So let me bring the verse 49:12. Or speak ill of people behind their backs. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, أيحب أحدكم starts from this in the middle. أيحب أحدكم. Yeah, yeah. You can mark it just to understand. Can you not mark it on it? No, أيحب. أيحب.
Okay, from here, yeah.
Yeah.
أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم
أن
أخيه.
ي- أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Meta is, oh, dead, yeah. One more.
Yeah.
ميتا.
Okay. So here he says the Hamza at the beginning of the verse is interrogative,
Mm.
right? This Hamza, ah, yuhibbu, in the yuhibbu, the Hamza there.
Uh-huh. أيحب.
Yuhibbu.
Yeah.
So that's like
Question. Yeah.
questioning, yeah, and wondering, questioning,
Mhm.
interrogative. This seeps through all the words of the verse like water, like
Mm.
water. Thus, with the first Hamza, it asks, have you no reason, the seat of question and answer, that you do not understand how ugly it is?
Mm.
With the second, it asks with the word like, is your heart the seat of love and hate so corrupted that it loves the most despicable thing? With the third, it asks with the words one of you. What has happened to your social life and civilization, which receives its vitality from the community, that it finds acceptable an act which thus poisons your life? So gossiping about different people, different things. With the fourth, it asks with the words, to eat the flesh. What has happened to your humanity that you tear apart your friend like a savage beast? Hmm. With the fifth, it asks with the words, your brother. Have you no compassion and fellow feeling that you unjustly tear with your teeth at the character of the one injured, your brother in so many respects? Have you no reason that you bite at your own limbs like a madman? And with the sixth, it asks with the word dead. Where is your conscience? Is your nature so corrupted that you do the most repulsive thing to the most respected person, your brother, like eating his flesh? That is to say, backbiting is censured and despised by reason, the heart, humanity, the conscience, human nature, and social and national solidarity. So see how this verse restrains from this crime in 6 concise degrees on 6 miraculous levels.
Mm. 6 different aspects of human psychology.
Mm. So each word, right? One of you, like, okay. So of the thousands of examples of the category of proof and demonstration is the worst. So consider the signs of God's mercy, how he gives life to the earth after its death. Indeed, it is he who gives life to the dead, for he is powerful over all things. From the Quran, section 30, verse 50. So category of proof and demonstration. An example of that. Quran 3050. Section room. Yep. So look, fanzur ila asare rahmatillahi kayfa. How he restores the earth to life after death, the same. So pay attention, observe. So it's a category of proof and demonstration. So its exposition is such in proving resurrection and banishing doubts, that it could not be more clearly demonstrated. It is like this. It says that as is proved and explained in the 9th truth of the 10th word and in the 5th flash of the 22nd word, every spring, examples of resurrection are provided in 300,000 ways in the earth, being raised to life with the utmost order and differentiation, despite the innumerable species being all mixed up together in total confusion, thus demonstrating to the human observer that the resurrection of the dead would not be difficult for the one who does this. So referring to the signs during spring season when so many different varieties, numerous species all mixed together, coming independently, individually, which should really bring the human mind to wonder. So it should not be difficult for the one who does all this, right? From after winter, from the dead earth, all this life, rejuvenation happening, which we call the season of spring. Also, since to write without fault or error, with the pen of power, hundreds of thousands of species on the page of the earth, all together and one within the other, is the seal of the single one of unity. With this verse, it both proves divine unity as clearly as the sun, and it demonstrates the resurrection of the dead as easily and decisively as the rising and setting of the sun. Thus, the Quran demonstrates this truth in regard to manner as described by the word how, just as it mentions it in detail in many surahs. So look, observe how this is happening, how that is happening. And for example, in Surah Kaf, by the glorious Quran, this Quran section 50, verse 1. It proves resurrection in such a brilliant, fine, sweet, and exalted manner that it convinces as certainly as the coming of spring. So this is Quran section 50, verse 1. And Kaf, and then it continues basically. Kaf al-Quran al-Majid, and then it continues. Do they not see the sky above them, how we have built and adorned it with no rifts in it, how we spread out the earth and put solid mountains on it, and caused every kind of joyous plant to grow in it. So it continues. Look, in answer to the unbelievers denying the raising to life of decomposed bones and saying, this is extraordinary. This is extraordinary. It could not be. It decrees. Do they not look? to the skies above them, how we have made them and adorned them, and how there is no flaw in them, until it continues, and thus will be the resurrection. So it describes, pay attention, and then in 11 it says, as a lesson and reminder for every servant who turns to God, and how we send blessed water down from the sky and grow with it gardens, the harvest grain, and tall palm trees laden with clusters of dates, as a provision for everyone. How with water we give new life to a land that is dead. This is how the dead will emerge from their graves. So in that way, basically in that sense, by paying attention to the signs in the universe, we see how resurrection will happen. To see how the earth is being spread, who is organizing it, who is spreading it, who is arranging it, who is bringing things into existence, right? Kind of joyous plant to grow in it, every kind, beautiful, bahij. I was wondering why joyous plant is good word here. Bahij, beautiful. All right. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
We see that after giving 10 examples in our real life experience, at the end, the Quran says on the 11th, كَذَلِكَ الْخُرُوجِ. This is how the dead will emerge. This creation. Dead body, of course, we think that human beings consist of dead body only. That's why the problem arises from there originally. Even you think that in your existence in terms of bodily existence only, even you think that the resurrection will be just recollection of your dead body to realize it. Here are the examples we have been doing in front of your eyes. And he said 3,000, I think 300,000. No, this is million now. Millions of examples in front of your eyes every year is taking place. The one who is doing this. So we learn from here that when we talk about belief matters, so we have to follow the Quranic way of speaking about it. We have to bring 10 evidence for what we are talking about, and then say, look, use your mind and see the one who is doing all this must be the one who is going to resurrect you. And he says, I'm going to do it. I can do it. Here is the examples. Quran gives the simplest example that everybody can understand. But these are, of course, to be understood as methods that we have to take while we are talking about belief matters.
Thank you. Yes. So give a lot of examples and before in terms of proofs that works, alhamdulillah, for us as well. We need to be reminded many times to understand many things. So, yeah, so it makes one kind of pay attention to the signs in the universe, because which we usually take as if they're happening by themselves, or we don't really realize there's a source or agent behind them. So our lesson, reminder for every servant who turns to God. And how he said, blessed so water down, we call it rain from the sky. The Quran says we send it down, water from the sky. So pay attention to it. So that is how resurrection will happen. Alhamdulillah. So the Quran's manner of exposition flows like water and shines like the stars. It gives both pleasure and delight to the heart like dates, and it is sustenance. And in one of the most subtle examples of the category of demonstration, it says, Yasin wal Quran il Hakim, by the all-wise Quran. Indeed, you are one of the messengers, from section Yasin, verses 1 to 3. That is, I swear by the wise Quran that you are one of the divine messengers. This oath indicates that the proof of messengership is so certain and true, the proof of messengership, and its veracity is so worthy of honor and respect that it is sworn by. Honor and respect that is sworn by. By indicating this, it is saying you are the messenger, for you hold the Quran in your hand. And the Quran is the truth, and it is the word of truth, for it contains true wisdom and bears the seal of miraculousness. So this is also the category of demonstration. That pay attention to the messengership of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, which is what this Quran is as well. By examining the Quran, you understand what the messengership of Prophet Muhammad is. Any thoughts on this section? Okay.
We should read the whole section Yasin.
Inshallah. And one of the concise and miraculous examples of the category of proof and demonstration is this. He says, who will raise to life these bones when they are rotted? Say, he will raise them who created them in the first instance. For he has full knowledge of every kind of creation. So it continues, right? As Brother Ali is saying, the whole section of Yasin needs to be studied, examined carefully. That is, man asks, who will resurrect decayed bones? You say, whoever made them in the first place and gave them life, he will resurrect them. As was depicted in the third comparison of the ninth truth in the 10th word, if someone reassembles a large army in one day before your eyes, and someone else says, at a bugle call, that person brought together the members of a battalion who had dispersed to rest. He is able to bring the battalion under order. And you say, oh man, I do not believe it. you can see what a foolish denial it would be. So pay attention to how the things are coming into existence in the first place. So whoever made them in the first place and gave them life, he will resurrect them. In just the same way, the all-powerful and all-knowing one enrolls and unites in you with the command of be, and it is, and with perfect order and the balance of wisdom, the particles and subtle faculties of the battalion-like bodies of all the animals, which are like an army, and other living creatures, and creates every century and every spring even all the hundreds of thousands of army-like species of living creatures on the face of the earth. Can it be questioned then how he can gather together at one blast of Israfil's trumpet the fundamental parts and particles of a battalion-like body, which are already familiar with one another through taking them under order? Can it be considered unlikely? If it is considered unlikely, it is a mindless foolishness. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
I think we should understand these kind of examples are given to us in terms of the created world, and we are observing it with our physical eyes. So we have to understand that it is not necessarily that God is going to use my rotten cells. They are not cells anymore. And the absolute creator, by definition, shouldn't need them to collect and rebuild a new building with it or with them. It is illogical. But we have to take it as the Quran directly mentions in its own wording. Let's read it. Yeah. So he says, you can read it, yes.
He says, who will raise to life these bones when they are rotted?
Excuse me. Now the human's ego says, come on, I die. Look at the cemetery, everybody is gone. Now, this is an human egoistic side reacting now. Not necessarily that a person will come up and speak. We don't expect this. So there is no need to understand. This is just a rhetorical way of teaching.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So say, he will raise them who created them in the first instance.
Yeah. Now you understand?
Mm-hmm.
The one who creates this now in front of your eyes and creates it in endless, limitless stages of existence from one cell into the old age and die. The one who performs this kind of action, can you not say, can it or can he not be able to create it to do it? What are you talking about? It means denying resurrection comes or derives from not accepting that my body is created. The reason is not that I don't understand, it is impossible. No, if you understand your own creation right now, you will understand it, that it is definitely possible according to the requirements of your feelings, You understand that you need such an existence, and it is definitely possible.
Inshallah, yeah. So look at my existence from childhood up to now, Alhamdulillah. Who is taking care of that? Who is arranging the change, whatever is going on? So the same one, whoever gave existence in the first instance, is the one. It's a beautiful way of reflecting on them. Yes, it encourages in a way. So question, who will raise to life those men? So my egoistic side wonders, questions, nah, impossible, or but then say, question your creation in the first instance. Whoever did that is going to do it. Inshallah.
Also here, excuse me, I didn't ask for permission. I am
So
sorry.
go ahead, please. Yes.
Now, he can gather together at one blast of Israfil's trumpet the fundamental parts and particles of a battalion-like body. Now, this goes along with the description of the Quran. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث. So this ayah in Yasin, it is beautiful actually. Now, why the sur should be blown by an angel? What does it mean? So it is interesting to see Israfil blowing the air, blowing the what the trumpet, they say now. And also Azrael taking the life. Yeah, when these angels is a representative of these actions of creation, and they receive the command from their creator, they employ, they turn it into the way that we, in a created form that we understand it. Now, it is not only once that the Israfil is going to blow. So at the end of the universe, when God decides not to create it anymore, and the trumpet will be blown. No. The simple way of teaching the Quran says, well, as if only once, when sur. But we understand that this is the example. We have to apply it for the creation of every moment of every single being in the universe. So this is just a criterion to be used for us. Now, Israfil represents that in the creation, as the things are created on a transient base, this reality of being created on a transient base demonstrates the blowing of trumpet of Israfil. It means, as I exist right now, Israfil blows the trumpet and says, it is going to die. It is going to into the past and be returned to its creator. At every moment, in the existence of each being, we see the blowing sound of the Israfil's trumpet. And it is the way it is created. In the way it's created. And because we realize that it is transient and disappears, Azrael comes and takes the life. And of course, if we are only satisfied with Sunday school culture, we will say that Israfil does two jobs. Azrael does only when the people die. Jibreel is now retired because there will be no prophet. Do you understand? So we should be careful. These are just examples, criteria demonstrated to us. See that every moment in its nature of transience, transient nature, every being is created with the trumpet of Israfil. And as it passes in the present day existence, for me, it is the, if you like, execution of Jabrail, death angel, takes the life of this being. Every time, Jabrail brings the news to the prophets. As the, how many prophets? That's it. Now there is no prophet. What is Jabrail doing now? Nothing? Retired? That's what I joke in this way to understand, to draw the attention of the people. So Jabrail brings the news from the Creator in the form of verbal speech to the prophet. But every time in the creation of every being, don't you receive the message from the Creator? In its very existence, this is the mission of the Jabrail. So we can get the meaning, this is the mission of the Jabrail. If I open my mind, if I open my heart, news comes to me. For example, there are many now, but let's take one example. There is a TV station now broadcasting something. If my TV is closed, turn it off, do I get the broadcasting? No. Only if I open or turn on my TV, it automatically receives the message. That is how we can communicate with the Jabrail. Every time, anytime we see something, we hear a voice, if we try to understand the meaning in its existence, Jabrail brings the news to you. That is called ilham, inspirations. That is Jabrail's job. And Jabrail is not only one angel. Jabrail is the representative of the creation of every single being, together with its meaningful angelic side. That is the mission of Jabrail represented in the language of the Quran, as if one being. So the hadith says, the Quran says actually, Quran says, بالأفق الأعلى النجم رآه بالأفق الأعلى. Asim, you memorized it. I have to read from the beginning. والنجم إذا هوى ما زاغ البصر وما غوى.
وهو بالأفق الأعلى
Yeah.
ثم
And
دنا فتدلى
فتدلى فقاب قوسين أو أدنى.
أوحى إلى ربه ما أوحى.
Now, he says, ما كذب الفؤاد ما رأى. What did he see? This classical scholarship says, ما كذب الفؤاد ما رأى, Jabrail. And the prophet, ما كذب الفؤاد ما رأى, a human heart did not deny what he has seen. Now, When I see the meaningful side of it, my heart doesn't deny it. So it is described on the prophetic vision of Jebrail. Hadith description is so beautiful and colorful. He says, I have seen Jebrail covering the whole horizon. What does it mean? Now, we cannot imagine this as a personal something thing. It means the manifestation of the Jebrail's mission covers all of the creation of the universe. Everywhere, everything coming into existence. By coming into existence, they are bringing the news about their creator to those people who open their TV machine, their heart, have an intention to understand what the reality of this universe is all about. So we have to be really, really interesting way of reading Hadith and Ayah. Somebody wrote something.
Oh, the question is about the famous hadith, the Jibril, they call it, where the person in white comes and Iman, Ihsan, right? Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. So,
Well, you can apply it, Muawiyah, but of course, people are so much conditioned by this classical interpretation, which is true. What is true? According to the capacity of the audience that the prophet speaks, according to the capacity of the audience the Quran speaks. So nowadays, we can easily say that every single being carries the message of its creator's infinite number of qualities. But can you talk about this 1,000 years ago like this? They will say you are crazy. What are you talking? Now, Nursi gives a beautiful example. If the Quran, the Nursi says, if the Quran said, you see 1 million, millions of living beings in a glass of water, for a person 1,000 years ago, what they will say? They will say, I mean, something is wrong with your mind. But now, not million, even more. You can easily say. So we have to understand the Quranic teaching, take it as a principle, criteria, these examples given in the Quran or Hadith narrations, and apply it within the capacity of your age. Now, this century. Tomorrow, we don't know what will come out and how the people will start seeing, observing the universe in a completely different dimensions. Physicists tell about 11-dimensional world, the universe. Imam Ghazali talks about 18,000 dimensions of universe. Now, in our discussions in Hamim, we talk about endless dimensions of the universe. Endless. But what we are talking about, the same thing. Numbers change, but the creation is taking place, innumerable number of layers of meanings transferred to us about its creator. That is the point we have to really comfortably receive it. Don't be afraid that, the scholars didn't say this. The prophetic saying literally says this. No, no. These are examples of their own centuries, their own ages. we cannot expect them to speak in terms of 21st century capacity of the cultural level or understanding of the universe. How can we talk about the people that started talking about the matter as being conscious? How can we talk about this to some people or expect some scholars to speak on, interpret the Quran in this way? Impossible. It's not fair. So we have to understand that, yes, they are right for their centuries, but we have to update it. Thank you. That time is really.
Beautiful conclusion. Thank you. About the angels. Alhamdulillah. So every time you're interacting with them, inshallah. All right, so we'll stop here, inshallah, and continue from here next time.
Where are we going to continue? In the
The category of guidance. Yes.
In the, yeah. So there are how many guidance categories that every category needs
Right.
to read the Quran from different perspective. According to category.
Right. Before it was the demonstration, and now in terms of guidance, how we get it. Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana innaka anta alimul hakim wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati surat al-Fatiha.